Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I guess we're going to talk about the biggest piece of pop culture news that's broken in the last 24 hours. So we're going to be discussing the cancellation of season 2 of Star Wars' The Acolyte. Obviously the first season wasn't that well received. Fans really bashed on it, they review bombed it. The viewership figures by the end of the season were just falling off a cliff and tanking. It was one of the worst viewed finales, I believe, when it comes to Disney Plus streaming shows for Star Wars. So yeah, it just wasn't what Lucasfilm wanted, wasn't what they were expecting. But there was so much wrong with The Acolyte, I don't even know where to begin. So basically, the breakdown for this video, let's just have a little 2-minute discussion about the actual first season of The Acolyte. Let's just talk about some of the things that went wrong. And then what we're going to do, we're going to hop over to X, we're going to check out some posts, and we're going to check out what some of the fan community have to say in regards to season 2 of The Acolyte being cancelled. So let's just have a quick discussion about what went wrong and some of the key points of failure with The Acolyte Season 1. So the biggest point of contention has to be the writing. I mean, the writing was all over the place. 1 minute, one of the characters, Osha or May, I can't remember which one's which, to be honest, I don't really care either. One of them's a bad guy, and she's walking through a forest, and then at the click of her finger, she becomes a good guy, and she wants to hand herself into the Jedi. So it's like bad to good, like instantly, and it's like, what the hell is going on? This doesn't make any sense. It was jarring to the audience, and it was just ridiculous. It came off goofy. The CGI and the sets looked bad, in my opinion. The dialogue was just god-awful. The story was bad. The episode length, the runtime for the episodes was bad. As soon as something interesting or remotely interesting was about to happen, fade to black, episode ends. That was awful. The runtime for the episodes was so bad, so jarring, to cutting off like mid-action or just as something interesting was happening. So boring characters, boring dialogue. Some of the action, yeah, there was a little bit of fun to be had with some of the action, some of the lightsaber duels. Okay, there was good in some places. But yeah, boring characters, boring dialogue, bad CGI and sets, bad runtime. The fact that the director came out and made comments about it being a gay Star Wars show, obviously that turned a lot of the fan base off. They're going to jump on those kind of comments and, you know, deem it as woke, whether they're right or wrong. But yeah, that's just some of the main key points as to why the show fell apart. Obviously, we have the history with all the other Disney Plus Star Wars shows kind of, you know, tanking as well. Obi-Wan didn't do well. Ahsoka didn't do well. Book of Boba Fett was a failure. Mando Season 3 wasn't received well. And now we have The Acolyte adding onto that pile as well. So that's some of the key points there, guys. I didn't want to go into it too deep because I could be here all day talking about it. But let's jump over to X. Let's check out some posts from the community and let's see what the response has been to the cancellation of Acolyte Season 2. So, jumping over here to X, let's check out some of these posts and let's see what some of the community are saying. So, this first post here comes to us from Culture Crave. Hashtag The Acolyte has been cancelled after 1 season. And that comes to us via Deadline. So, let's go down. Culture Crave, finale is believed to be the lowest viewed for a Star Wars series finale. The budget of The Acolyte Season 1 was $180 million. Let me just say that again. $180 million for this steaming pile of shit that has done so much damage to the Star Wars IP. And they paid nearly $200 million to damage the IP even more than what they had before. This is unbelievable. Then we get movies like Godzilla Minus One that cost less than $20 million. So what the hell is going on? What is Disney doing with all this money? Where is it going? Is there some sort of money laundering scheme going on in the background? It does make you wonder because the series didn't look good. The sets look bad. The CGI looked bad. So where the hell all the money's going? I have no idea. Let's just read a few comments and then we'll move on to the next post. The Acolyte haters right now. Basically all laughing to themselves, happy that this abomination of a show has been cancelled. So, I guess the power of many wasn't really that powerful. That's a great comment. The power of many. That's got to be the worst single-handed moment of any Star Wars content I think I've ever seen in my entire life. So bad. What were they thinking? But we were told it was so popular. From Screen Rant, exclusive data suggests The Acolyte is a Star Wars success story despite the backlash. Yeah, these outlets, they try and cover up the dwindling numbers, the failure of these shows, but they can't hide it for too long. Eventually, the viewership numbers come out and it just shows the complete story. And now that season 2's been cancelled, it kind of confirms everything that we thought about the show, that it's trash, and nobody watched it, and Disney aren't going to move forward with it. So let's read one more comment here. I knew this was going to happen because when you make a show that turns off 70 to 80% of the fan base, this is the result. Absolutely. Everything they did with this show is basically everything they did with this show is the opposite to what the Star Wars fan base actually want in a series or in a movie. And they just turned off all of the major fan base. And yeah, this is the result. You end up with a crap show that nobody likes, and you end up cancelling season 2. So let's move on to the second post here. Amanda Stenberg just dropped a new banger, Unemployed. So this is a screenshot from a music video she put out. For those of you who don't know the reference, she basically put out a music video talking about white privilege or white supremacy or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the message was, but it was something like that. And people saw it, and it was so bad. I watched about 10 seconds of it, and I had to stop the video because I would have ended up ripping my ears off because it was that bad. But yeah, that just added to the kind of the hate train, I should say. People jumped on it, and that was more reasons for the series to basically fail. The fact that she made this ridiculous music video, and now she's unemployed, which is quite funny. So, jumping on to this next post here, it looks like they're taking shots at Kathleen Kenedy. Disney Star Wars isn't Star Wars. Hashtag the Acolyte. The failure of one, the failure of two, the failure of many. That is literally going to be a permanent stain on the reputation of Star Wars for years to come. Every time I think of Star Wars now, I just think of the failure of many. So bad. The writer that came up with that, man, oh my god, like, I'm not a writer by any means, but holy crap, that was bad. Let's move on to the next post here, if it loads. So here we go from Molly Damon. I totally agree with blah, 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 about the way this Acolyte news is being handled. So let's have a look at this quickly. So, obviously I'm disappointed there won't be a season 2 of The Acolyte, but I really don't like that it's being reported as cancelled. The Book of Boba Fett didn't have a season 2, but the narrative wasn't that it was cancelled. Some fans thought there would be a season 2 of Kenedy, but when that didn't happen, it was never reported in the trades as being cancelled. My point is, by using the term cancelled, it emboldens a certain portion of the fan base that purposely review bombed and did everything they could to trash the series. Simply because it had a predominantly POC cast and that was created by Leslie Headland, who is an openly gay woman. Deadline knows that by framing the news as a reflection of the show's failure, they'll get more clicks on their website. Of course, shows get cancelled all the time for a variety of reasons. It's the nature of the business, but for me, it's about the ethics of journalism or the lack thereof, and there is a problem in this scenario. Yeah, so we've got this snowflake mentality here, talking about use of different words and whatever. Obviously, they're an outlet. They're there to get clicks. They're there to sell, ad revenue. That's what they do. They're there to try and trump up controversy. That's what news sites do, and that's the purpose of the outlet. So let's be honest about what we're talking about here. But is she right to say this show's being framed as cancelled, whereas the other Disney Plus shows weren't? Using the term cancelled is correct here. Basically, the fan base have spoken. They've been loud in their vocalizations about hating the show, about not liking it. So yeah, it has been cancelled. Disney has cancelled a season 2 of this show due to the fan backlash. So using the word cancelled or cancellation is correct in this instance. So I have no idea what this person's talking about. They need to get a life and stop telling people what words to use when they're reporting on this news story. That's my opinion anyway. So moving on to this next post, this comes to us from End Wokeness. Breaking Star Wars, The Acolyte has been cancelled after just one season. Who could have seen this coming? I think a lot of people did. So this is the interview clip here where they're talking about the show being a gay Star Wars series. So let's just play the first few seconds so you can get a kind of an inkling about what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you embracing?
You see, whether you're right or wrong to be against this kind of commentary around a Star Wars show, a lot of people saw this, a lot of people jumped on it, a lot of people don't agree with it, and a lot of people, it really turned them off to Star Wars even more than they were probably turned off to Star Wars before. I mean, talking about, being the gayest Star Wars show, there is a lot of people out there who are going to see this, and it's just going to completely alienate them and turn them off to watching this series. Whether they're right or wrong to feel like that, I'm not going to get into that kind of discussion. But at the end of the day, I'm talking facts. It did alienate a lot of people. It did turn a lot of people off. And it's just another nail in the coffin as to why this show ended up failing. So let's take a look at the next post quickly. So, from Dr. Danielle, they cancelled The Acolyte because they couldn't stand the sight of two hot people of colour holding hands, but I will always remember. I have literally not seen one person complain that there's two colored people holding hands in this show. So this is absolute nonsense. No one has complained about this. Nobody has talked about this. I haven't seen one post or one comment complaining about two colored people holding hands in a Star Wars show. So this is just absolutely pulled out of their backside. This is a nonsensical comment, and nobody has complained about this whatsoever. So we'll check this out. This will be the last one here, guys. I mean, there's so many posts. We could go on all day. So the Wall Street Silver. The ultra-woke Star Wars show, The Acolyte, will not continue, with Lucasfilm opting not to proceed with the second season of Star Wars Offshoot starring Amanda Stenberg. The director, Leslie Headland, was widely criticized for ignoring Star Wars canon. Yeah, I mean, that was a major factor as well. People jumping on that train of, it was messing up the Star Wars canon. And, when you start to interfere with Star Wars canon, the main hardcore fan base of Star Wars, wow, they're really, really going to dive onto that. People are going to jump on that, and it's not going to be a good time if you start messing up the canon. She was most criticized for the episode where lesbian witches use the Force to create babies. Yeah, I mean, right there, that kind of just sums up what happened in this series. And I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, lesbian space witches use the Force to create babies. I mean, when you sound it out like that, it sounds utter ridiculousness. And just, yeah, I'm literally lost for words. But yeah, it kind of speaks for itself, really. So yeah, there we go, guys. That's a nice kind of sample size there of kind of some posts on the X platform there, talking about the cancellation of Season 2 of The Acolyte. It seems overwhelmingly that the majority of the fan base when it comes to Star Wars are happy that this show won't be continuing, that this kind of represents everything that's wrong with modern day Star Wars. A lot of people feel that Disney Star Wars isn't actual real Star Wars, and that, they've made huge mistakes with their series, incorporating all this kind of forced agenda, this wokeness, the comments of the director saying that it's a gay show, and just kind of the bad dialogue, the bad writing, everything about it is just bad. And, it's just alienated the core fan base. And, Disney and Star Wars in the coming years, man, they've got an uphill battle to get fans back on board. I mean, if the Mandalorian and Grogu movie comes out and it's not as well received as what they're hoping, then Star Wars is going to be in such a bad state, even worse than it is now, if that's even possible. But guys, I throw it off to you. You've read these comments. Have you seen The Acolyte Season 1? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Whatever your thoughts are, pop them down below, guys. And by the way, if you did enjoy The Acolyte Season 1, I'm not banging on you whatsoever. I enjoy and celebrate with you that you got some enjoyment out of The Acolyte Season 1. Unfortunately for me, it was a hot mess. It's something that I never want to see again. But like I say, if you enjoy it, I celebrate that for you guys. I wish I enjoyed it, but unfortunately I didn't. So put your thoughts, comments, and opinions on The Acolyte Season 1, and your thoughts, comments, and opinions on the cancellation of Season 2. I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.